It was announced that in 2020, the polarizing series, and yes, I say polarizing because of the amount of people who are disgusted with the making of the series, known as Fairy Tail, would be releasing a video game adaptation that would be being completely directed under the creator himself, Hiro Mashima, and developed by the merger Koei Tecmo. After playing the entire game, watch right here by the way, I am ready to let everyone know what my exact thoughts were on the game and why you should or shouldn't play the game despite the decision being ultimately yours. So, let's get right into it. Hey guys, it is DGD, Dull Gamer Dill, and welcome to the very first episode of Dull's Review Closet, the section where I review games that I've already played either through Let's Plays or throwbacks, or games that I played in the past when I was a kid and really wanted to tell someone about, but I couldn't because I would totally nerd out on them. By the end of the video, I will give every game that I review a certain number of stars, but not just any stars. Oh yes, my friends, these stars will be called Dull Stars. These stars indicate whether the game was good or bad in my own opinion. From 1 star being totally whack to 10 stars being, oh my freaking god, this was so amazing, why isn't anybody else playing this? So, enough with this intro. Let's get the first episode rolling. So starting off in the likes, I think what I enjoyed the most about this gameplay was the fighting. I always dreamed of a Fairy Tail video game, and while I originally wanted it to be more of an open world RPG, the end results being this game gave me the chance to experience it through incredible turn-based combat and impressive attack animations. Though I still would have loved the idea of an RPG involving us, the players, to create our own Fairy Tail wizards so that we could truly be a part of the guild. This experience is just as good because we are able to control each of our favorite characters from the Fairy Tail guild or the side characters from other competing guilds. Ichiya is just a guild by himself. While we're on the topic of gameplay, I also admired the idea of clawing our way to the top from the very bottom of the ranks. Normally, I'm not the type of gamer who cares about rankings or being number 1 in the world because I'm just a very easygoing person. However, this game in particular made me want to make Fairy Tail the number 1 guild in all of Fiori, not only because of my own biased reasons, but because of how fun the job requests were. Each request had its own little story within the main story of the game that made many callbacks to different arcs of Fairy Tail that you can watch in the first season on either Netflix, Funimation, or whatever streaming app has FT on it. Many callbacks came from the arcs of Phantom Lord, Tower of Heaven, Battle of Fairy Tail, and many more that you can watch in the first season. It was nice to go on these quests with either the character of our choice or the character or characters that were locked into it so that we could not only earn a butt ton of jewel, but to raise our guild rank, level, and earn extremely useful items for the rest of the game. The last thing that I wanted to discuss while we're talking about gameplay were the graphics. Now keep in mind that in the future that whenever I do reviews on video games that I'll save graphics for last because I believe that just because a game has great graphics doesn't necessarily mean that that game is a good game. I'm the type of person who will admire the story and overall game mechanics before I admire the graphics, and so that's why I won't immediately jump and say that this game or any game that for that matter will be amazing just because they look beautiful. Because looks can be deceiving. In Fairy Tail's case, this game had phenomenal graphics. The colors resonated with Fairy Tail's bright and warm color palette to where every single area that you, the player, visited felt like it was so full of life and magic. The show's art style already does a great job at doing that through the animation of the spells, but the game takes it to a whole other level, and as a bonus, the characters were really nice and detailed. Nice and detailed? Nah, just kidding. Anyway, the character designs were very nice and detailed. I do think there could have been more facial expressions used for them in certain scenes other than them just smiling or, using a blank expression or whatever their default expression was, but I'm willing to forgive that because of what's going on in the world. Now, I already mentioned that I pay close attention to the story and gameplay mechanics over highly detailed graphics, and because this game is just recapping what happened in the manga/anime, there really isn't much to talk about. The game does a great job with presenting the series to us by using the 7-year time skip as a great starting point. From there, our job, similar to the story, is to help Fairy Tail reclaim its title as the #1 guild in not only Magnolia but Fiore as a whole. In order to do this, we the gamers must play through the 7-year gap, Grand Magic Games, Dragon King Festival, Tartaros, and finally the 1-year time skip after Tartaros that poses as an epilogue. I won't get too deep into these arcs, and I know, and trust me, I know the opinion that a majority of people have on GMG, so all I'm gonna say is it really wasn't that bad. What? I'll make a separate video explaining why, but for right now I'm just gonna leave it there and continue, because now we are gonna talk about the dislikes that I had for the game. Now it's time to talk about the dislikes, and starting things off will be a dislike that I had involving the story because of where we started with the game, and that was the very last events of Tenro. Originally, I thought the game would end with GMG because that's what everyone online had been saying at the time, and so I thought we would start in the very beginning of FT and then work our way up to GMG. And I can't tell you how excited I truly was when I thought I was gonna have the ability to play through the Arashi Seis arc, another arc that I really enjoyed from Fairy Tail, only to find out that I wasn't able to. Now, I don't mean to sound like a spoiled brat who threw a massive temper tantrum because I didn't get the one gift out of the 50 other things on Christmas Day, but I was just a tad disappointed to be starting so late in the series when a lot of great stuff happened before Tenro. The other problem with this game story is that it wasn't very inviting to people who want to sit down and play a regular game that's based on an anime, TV series, or movie series. Now, hear me out on this. When you play games like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, or even the SpongeBob movie game, what all three of those video games have in common is their ability to tell a story without actually having to watch the movie or hundreds of episodes in order to figure out what the plot is. Especially with Dragon Ball Z, Tenkaichi 3 in particular, it did such an amazing job with telling the story of each saga through an entertaining fighting game. This fighting game that I never finished because of a certain useless character. But getting back to it, Fairy Tail PS4 doesn't do a great job at inviting newbies to the series, but does an excellent job at making their current fans, like me for example, content with playing the story mode already knowing what exactly is going on. Now, the next problem that I had stems from the gameplay because of such a lack of character models for certain side characters. I was truly disappointed when I saw that there weren't many character models for most of these side characters like Miliana, Princess Hisui, or even some of the important villains that were in Tartaros. While the game and series centers around the Fairy Tail Guild Hall, there were many guilds that were introduced in the Fairy Tail universe because of GMG. The same arc I was extremely excited to play because of the possibility of there being a tournament minigame that we can grind on for jewel and valuable items. So you can only guess how I felt when I only saw that there were like 1 or 2 members from separate guild halls. Maybe there'll be a DLC for this in the future, maybe they won't. I don't know. It's all up to them at this point. Now, while this game is already pretty good, I do think there were some minor things that would have made this game even better. I personally think that there could have been a bit more RPG aspects included into it, and what I mean by this is just the inclusion of some clothing shops, for example. Now, this isn't a major problem that I had with the game. If anything, this correlates with what I said earlier when I was talking about the game only taking place after Tenro. I just thought it would have been a nice feature if the creators included clothing stores to where we could buy different outfits for our selected character instead of using our real world jewel to do so by purchasing outrageously priced DLC for like one set of outfits. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was nice playing as Urza in her Heart Cruise armor, or Lucy in her outfit after the 7-year gap, or even as Wendy in her new outfit. But it would have been nice to get a little more hands-on with it and actually customize our characters. I mean, Gray wasn't even in his black shorts like he usually is whenever he unconsciously strips. Every time in battle, I looked at him and I said, why is Gray still wearing clothes? The last thing that would have made this experience even more incredible, going back to what I said earlier, would have been the ability to create our own FT wizard. Now, this is just a fun little idea, but it would have been extremely cool if the game starts with the players creating a custom character, giving them a specific magic technique that's in the vast archive of Fairy Tail's magic dictionary, and or a weapon. Now granted, that would be a lot of programming, and I can only imagine how time consuming that would be, but just the idea of that being the finished product would have sent me over the moon. This would have also helped to make this game a game that everyone can play, because you would need to start from the very beginning of FT. The reason for this is because when the series started, it followed Lucy's point of view, and through her becoming a member of the guild, we, the viewers, were immersed into their extraordinary world of magic. If the game had started off like this, we, along with Lucy, would be going through the exact same adventure, and it would have been even more rewarding as your character gains more plot armor, abilities, within their chosen magical technique, whether holder or ability. Guys, could you imagine what FT Online would have been like? In the end, I'm not complaining about this game at all, and I can forgive the lack of character models because of the events going on in the world right now. My guess is the creators were possibly on a tight deadline, and so they weren't able to program many of those models in time, and I can forgive that and accept the game as it is. I just think that it could have been a bit more inviting to newcomers of the series. In the end, I had a blast playing through this game, and I would give it a total of 9 out of 10 dull stars. My stance on it stands as this: I enjoyed the game, but it could have been more inviting to newcomers of the series. And that is just about it. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like, you can follow my Twitter and Instagram, as well as like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content. Let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. What you guys thought could have made the game even better, if you liked it, if you disliked it, and what your overall thoughts were on the game. Also, you could also ring the notification bell so that way you are notified every time I release either a Let's Play series or just another review series or review video, I should say, similar to this one. But in the end, it has been a pleasure, and I will see you guys later. DGD out.